gives me great pleasure to bring to the stage our U.S. Senator James Lankford, who will introduce our keynote speaker.
Well, good evening. How are we doing on this? Good evening. Leon, Steve, so many volunteers are out here. Thanks for the time that y'all put into this. This is a big deal. It sets a good example for the entire state and what a county party can do and what we can all do together, getting a chance to put this together. So, Leon, I don't know if anyone said thank you to you yet. Thank you. Let me also say thanks. There are a lot of folks that have caught us even tonight and said, we pray for you, we encourage you, we're behind you. Thanks for that. For all of us that are fighting the fight, and there are quite a few folks here that are in elected office that are in the arena, it is not a simple arena to be able to be in. And there is a fight for the soul of the nation that's happening right now. And as you pray for us and as you encourage us, that is the reinforcement that we need to continue to be able to be in the fight. So thank you for your engagement on that very much. We get the fun of introducing some friends. Husband of Sarah since 1998. I don't know what Sarah was thinking. Dad of 6 amazing kids. A Christ follower, a mortgage entrepreneur, a risk taker, a leader, an Oklahoma State graduate, go Pokes, a hunter, a 4th-generation Oklahoman, and the governor of Oklahoma. 2018, Kevin Stitt received more votes than any gubernatorial candidate in the history of the state of Oklahoma in his first run for any elected office. He brought a business mindset to the state by hiring expert advisors from the private sector, including the first chief operating officer in state history. He's also brought on more female cabinet officials than any other governor in state history. He's been focused on getting our fiscal house in order, and we've all seen that. Stopping the boom and bust cycle in our government and the employment in our state by diversifying our business capacity into new types of business and building a rainy day fund that will keep us from having to cut government services each time the oil patch has a downturn, and it will. He has the highest approval rating of any governor ever running in their second term in the latest poll that just came out. That's the bio. Let me tell you the story. I met Kevin in 2017. A mutual friend of ours said, I want you to meet somebody that's a friend. His statement was, he reminds me of you. And I said, poor guy. He said, this is what I mean by it. He's never run for any political office before. He's a Christ follower. And he feels like God's calling him to run for governor. Would you meet with him? And I said, sure. What's his name? He said, Kevin Stitt. We sat down in my office and just had a talk. It's my first time to be able to chat with him and to be able to get a good read for the future governor of Oklahoma. We sat and talked for about 25 minutes. Then we took time to pray together and had the opportunity to meet somebody who simply had a calling to be able to serve his state. It is much easier to watch on the sidelines than it is to step into the arena. So for anyone who's willing to step off the sidelines and step in the arena, I'm always impressed. But I would tell you, I was very impressed to hear his heart for God, his heart for his family, and his heart for our state.
Well, I first met Sarah, I think it was at an event in Tulsa. We were both backstage. You were about to speak for the first time publicly, I think it was. Yet she radiated calm, reassurance, an inner reassurance and peace that you could tell did not come from herself. It came from we kind of developed an encouragement relationship, really, to one another. We would send texts occasionally, just of a prayer that we were praying for each other, scripture, those kinds of things. We never bombarded each other, but it was always an encouragement that we gave each other. And then I think the thing, though, that I admire most about Sarah Stitt is something that I think is important in any relationship. It's important in ours. And that is that Kevin and Sarah are a team. No matter what they're doing, whether it's their family, whether it's the state of Oklahoma, it doesn't matter. What they do, they are a team. And that's important, I think, for any marriage, anywhere. But it's really important in a marriage that is so, so very public. Thank you all for the way that you are an example to the rest of our state.
So we've had the unique privilege of getting a chance to get to know Kevin and Sarah behind the scenes. Not just on TV commercials, and there have been a lot of them. Not just on the dialogue that you get a chance to see through the newspaper or social media. We've gotten to know them. We've had the opportunity to be able to see them with their family. We've had the opportunity to be able to pray for our state together. We've had the opportunity to be able to talk through hard issues of what we can do to actually help us as a state and as a nation. And I would tell you from Cindy and I, we're privileged to have the opportunity to get to be able to know you, and we are grateful as Oklahomans that you have set aside a really successful business and have taken the risk to put your family and your life on hold for a season to be able to serve the state and nation. So ladies and gentlemen, would you help me welcome Governor Kevin Stitt.
And First Lady Stitt.
Thank y'all. I'm glad y'all stood up because I was going to have you stand up and stretch your legs anyway. So, man, let's give it up also for Chairman Leon Ferris. What a great job he's done tonight. So proud of you leading Stevens County. This truly is one of the biggest gatherings in the entire state of Oklahoma. It's right here in Stevens County. I'm honored to be here with all of you. And really all the people, like the senator said, that are involved in putting their names out there. I just want to thank you for getting involved in our state. It is so important that we have an informed citizenry and we know the issues. So thank you for doing that. We need more people like you involved in our state, leading our state. Just look around this room. I mean, when I think about we were able to pray together, we were able to honor our veterans together, and that's so encouraging for me and my family. I've got two of my sons here today, and just being with like-minded Oklahomans and Americans in this room, we have a special, special country, and we have a specialer state, the great state of Oklahoma. So I'm just happy and honored to be here with you today and being part of making us a top 10 state. We're truly moving the needle there. And we are leading the nation, I'm telling you, in common sense conservatism. I'm so proud that they are calling me right now the most pro-life governor in the entire country. We believe in life. I get interviewed all over, and we tell them, hey, other states can do things differently. Colorado, the most egregious bill I've ever seen. Abortion on demand all the way up to birth. I mean, it's just sick. It is just sick. But in Oklahoma, we stand to protect life. One of my favorite bills I just signed was the Save Women in Sports bill. Did y'all see that? Pretty common sense to us in the state of Oklahoma. I got interviewed by the Washington Post, and they were like, Governor, you signed this controversial bill called Save Women in Sports. And I said, well, first off, it's not very controversial in Oklahoma. It's common sense. You see guys on the West Coast, the East Coast, we know the difference between a boy and a girl in the state of Oklahoma, okay? And I'm telling you, the young women that run track at OU that came up and thanked me for protecting their scholarships. and the 16-year-old girls that play volleyball and the 14-year-old girls that play soccer or swimming or weightlifting that just want a fair competition. They're saying thank you for protecting our sports, and that's just common sense for us here in the state of Oklahoma. And I want to remind everybody, in 2018, it was a different feeling in the state of Oklahoma. When I ran for governor and I was inspired to get involved, I think President Trump inspired me to run. And I'm a fourth-generation Oklahoman, and I grew up in Norman, the son of a pastor. I went to Oklahoma State, so I'd like to go Pokes there. I'm a little more neutral now as governor, so Boomer Sooner. Okay, I'll leave it right there before I get in trouble. But, you know, we were having billion-dollar budget nightmares. I don't know if you remember that. We were having budget deficits after budget deficits. We were having teacher walkouts. We were having state agencies were losing money. And today, it is a different story in Oklahoma. Well, first off, because of a lot of people in this room, we now have 100,000 more registered Republicans than we did in 2018. 100,000 more. And the other good news is we've got 65,000 fewer of the bad guys, the Socialist Party, okay? So their numbers have actually gone down. People thought I was crazy when we had no budget, no savings account, and I set a vision to say we need to have at least $2 billion in savings, and I'm proud to announce today we have over $2.5 billion in our savings account. It's the most in state history and top 10 in the country. We have 2,000 fewer state employees than we did just a few years ago. We cut taxes, thanks to a lot of the legislatures in this room. We cut taxes for every single Oklahoman and every single business person last year. We have the lowest unemployment right now in our state's history. We're also top 10 in the country at that, at 2.7%. So just amazing things going on. People are starting to wake up and take notice of the state of Oklahoma. And I've got to tell you, there's never been a bigger difference between a blue state and a red state than there has been over the last couple years. You know, when we think about the pandemic, it was so important to me and all of you in this room, kind of common sense, to keep our businesses open, keep our kids in school the whole time, and other states keep our churches open. Other states were like they were putting our Constitution in the attic and forgetting about it just because we had a pandemic, a so-called pandemic going on. So I was so proud to keep us open and free and safe during that last couple years. And it's really proved tremendous benefit for our state today. I was one of the few governors across the country that refused to issue a mask mandate, okay? You know, I kept telling our team whenever we were seeing other states do this, even Republican states were doing that across the country. And I said, well, first off, it's unenforceable, okay? Secondly, I wasn't going to make a farmer in western Oklahoma a criminal out driving their tractor if they didn't wear a mask. It just made perfect common sense to us. And now today, Oklahoma is considered the #1 place to do business by a bunch of different publications. Lowest cost of living, lowest cost to do business. We've got the best electricity price to the consumer and the business, 11 out of the last 14 quarters. So people are waking up to the top 10 momentum in our state. In 2018, we were ranked 46th in budget transparency, and we're number 7th in the country. I put our checkbook online to let everybody see exactly what's happening in our state government. We have 40,000 more employees in the workforce in Oklahoma than we did in 2018. We just signed a huge company in eastern Oklahoma. Our pipeline's never been bigger. And I've got to give a lot of credit. I could choose a lot of different Oklahomans for my Oklahoma Economic Developer of the Year award, but I've decided to give the Oklahoma Economic Developer of the Year award to California Governor Gavin Newsom. He has done more for the growth of Oklahoma than anything that we could do in the legislature. I want to touch base and tell you some of the conversations that I have when I go to the White House or whenever I talk to the Secretary of Energy. And it's our common sense approach to energy policy. Okay, Oklahoma has the energy policy figured out. We have the lowest cost of electricity, the best electricity grid of any state in the country. And we're number 6 in oil production compared to every other state. We're the 6th best in the entire country. We're the 4th best natural gas producer. Okay, that's something we should all be proud of, are our natural resources. But what people don't realize about Oklahoma is we're also number 2 in wind energy production. We've got some of the cleanest water, cleanest air in the entire country because we have an all-of-the-above approach to energy in our state. And we've been an innovator and a pioneer for centuries, and we're going to continue to do that. We're leaning in now to hydrogen. We're leaning into electric vehicle manufacturing. We know that that's where a lot of the industry is heading, and it's oil and gas is going to be here for the next 100 years. But we're also going to take all forms of energy as we transition. And I think that's something that we can be proud of, and we're not going to shy away from it. And I tell young people, remember during the polar vortex last February, remember when it was unseasonably cold? We had about 2 or 3 weeks. Texas, they had blackouts. Their grid didn't stand up like Oklahomans. And I'll tell you this, we normally get 40% of our energy from wind. Well, the wind turbines were frozen during that time period. We normally get about 40% from natural gas. And the natural gas wellheads were frozen. We couldn't get that to our generation plants. And you know what saved the day for Oklahoma? Because we're an all-of-the-above state. We had coal go to 55% of our electricity generation during that period of time. I told that to President Biden. Okay, I tell it to the Secretary of Energy. And I tell it to young people. If we wouldn't have had coal in Oklahoma during that 2-week period, you would not have been able to watch TikTok for 2 solid weeks. All right? So it's funny, but it's also so true that we have to educate the young people and really Washington, D.C. When you plug in your Tesla and when you plug in your cell phone, that electricity has to be generated from somewhere. And it's most cases generated from clean burning Oklahoma natural gas. And we need to share that with everyone. And when I think about the policy that this administration has, since 1973, every president of the United States has had an energy independence policy, meaning they wanted to meet the needs of Americans and meet the needs of our citizens with our own resources from our own companies and our own employees until this administration. And what do? They kill the Keystone Pipeline day 1 in office. They make drilling almost impossible. They kill the federal lands. They make the permitting process difficult. And then they wake up and wonder, why are the prices at the pump going up? Well, here's the deal. Demand hasn't changed. We're all still taking our kids to piano lessons and soccer practice. We're heating our homes and our businesses. And it makes perfect sense for us that we have to meet those needs from our own resources in the United States of America. I wish they would take some of the Oklahoma common sense and open up the drilling across our country. You know, when I think about the federal overreach right now and what's happening with inflation because of their policies and the Afghanistan, the border crisis. I've been down to Texas numerous times with Governor Abbott and seen what's happening on the border. Myself, Abbott, 26 other governors sent a letter to President Biden to get a meeting to try to address the southern border crisis. Crickets. He never even responded. Can you imagine as a CEO if half of your customers or half of your employees want a meeting and you don't even respond to them? That's what happened to the 26 governors that asked for a meeting with the president. We need to have a strong, secure border on our southern border. We need to know what's coming across. The vaccine mandates. You know, we should not set our Constitution aside and allow one person to dictate and mandate what happens for every single Oklahoman and every single business. And I've just got to give a shout out to our Attorney General, John O'Connor, for fighting back against those mandates and winning that lawsuit. Thank you, General. We also must fight back against the liberal Biden administration's effort to turn eastern Oklahoma into reservation. The McGirt issue, to me, is one of the biggest issues that's hit our state. So what's that mean? In 2020, the Supreme Court said that reservations still exist in eastern Oklahoma. This is a law and order issue. We need to have one set of rules regardless of your race or where you live in the state of Oklahoma. Again, this is not Kevin Stitt against the tribes. This is about one set of rules. And I'll give you a story of how unfair I think it is. 3 bad guys beat an 85-year-old man almost to death, stole his truck. They were sentenced to prison. One of them showed his Indian card and gets out of prison. The other 2 are still in prison. So now you have a case, one person out of prison, the other 2 are still in prison for the same crime committed on the same day. That's not equal protection under the law. We have to have one set of rules in eastern Oklahoma. Taxation. Taxation is another big issue with it. We had the Muskogees, we had the Cherokee tribes say that you don't have to pay taxes if you are an Indian living in eastern Oklahoma. And again, I've got my Indian card. My 6 children with blonde hair, blue eyes have their Indian card. I don't think it's fair that I don't have to pay taxes, but a single mother of a different race has to in eastern Oklahoma. And if you think it's just an eastern Oklahoma issue, there's an equalization formula for roads and bridges and schools. $1 less received in eastern Oklahoma means $1 less for schools and roads in the western part of our state as well. Again, this is a complicated issue. We're right now before the Supreme Court waiting for the ability to just prosecute crimes for non-Indians. And I just want you to call your district attorneys or call your sheriff's department and ask them about this situation. We have to have one set of rules, or we're losing the ability as the state of Oklahoma to operate the way we've done since 1907. Education. Education in Oklahoma, we have to do a better job for our young people. We are right now ranked 46th in most of the national test scores. When we compare ourselves to every other state, we are not living up to the way other states are. What is the problem? We have to inject competition. I trust parents to make the right decisions for their students. We need to fund students, not systems in the state of Oklahoma. We've got a lot of great schools across our state, but we have some schools that we have high dropout rates. We have some schools that we're not getting their kids ready for college or career, and we have to do a better job and allow those parents, if they're in a failing school district, to go to a charter school or go to a private school or go to a school that better fits their needs. Ryan Walters, my Secretary of Education, is doing an amazing job of, thank you, is doing an amazing job of policy in that. And I want to give you this one visual. 60 years ago, when we integrated schools, if you think about it, our superintendents and politicians stood in the doorway of schools and they refused to let minority kids in. Today, we have those same superintendents, same politicians standing in the doorway of schools, refusing to let minority kids out. The fact of the matter is, we've got some downtown inner city schools in Tulsa and Oklahoma City that are failing our young people. And I want to give them a better opportunity. They've done it in Florida. They've done it in North Carolina. They've done it in Tennessee. They've done it in Arizona. They've done it in New Hampshire. West Virginia just passed it. We've got to open up and break up the monopoly in the school system and give the power back to the parents. And in closing, I wanted to tell you my favorite day as your governor. I've been governor now for 4 years, and 2 years ago, during COVID, the governor of Colorado had shut his state down and refused to let anyone hold any kind of meetings there. And the largest cattle show in the country had been held in Colorado, in Denver specifically, for over 100 years. And he refused to let them have it. Well, I found out about it, and I went and recruited them to Oklahoma City. And they came, and it was 17 days of hotels and restaurants filled, a great successful show. And they officially let me know that they are leaving Colorado after 100 years and moving to the great state of Oklahoma. Well, after that happened, the governor of Colorado did something really strange. He went out and he declared a meatless holiday, okay? Well, the agriculture industry, we're the #2 beef producer in the country. And I wanted to recruit more ag companies. We have about 100,000 people that work in that industry in Oklahoma. So I was trying to recruit more people. And so I went out and I declared meat all week in the state of Oklahoma. So I don't know if y'all have heard of this, but this organization named PETA saw that and didn't like it very much. So PETA set up this billboard in Oklahoma City and called me Governor Meathead Stitt, Go Vegan for Life. So my communications team saw the billboard and they were like, oh my goodness, the governor's going to be mad, and they didn't want to show it to me, and I saw him kind of walking around, and I said, what's going on? And they said, oh, Governor, they put this billboard up against you. I looked at it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes. I go, they don't know my friends in Oklahoma very well. I said, y'all go find the biggest smoker you can find, set it up underneath that PETA sign. I called the Cattlemen's Association. I had them donate hot dogs, hamburgers, and steaks. Then I got on the radio in Oklahoma City and invited the whole city to come out and grill out steaks with me in front of that PETA sign. And that was my best day as your governor, grilling out underneath the PETA sign. And, you know, here's the deal. Here's the moral to that story. It's funny, and we do it in good humor in Oklahoma, because, I mean, it was they were showing it on the news in Maine and Vermont and all over, and my daughters were like, Dad, we saw you on TikTok. But the news media was there, and they came up to me, and they were like, Governor, what would you say to somebody that wants to be a vegan? And I said, here's the deal. If you want to be a vegan, be a vegan. I go, if you want to eat steak, eat steak. It doesn't matter in Oklahoma, because we believe in freedoms. And that's the whole point here. Okay, we're not going to let one person in Washington, D.C., or one special interest group dictate and mandate to us the way we live our lives in the state of Oklahoma. We live in the greatest country in the world. We've got freedom of speech. We've got the freedom of religion. We can disagree with one another. Our founders understood, though, that religious liberties were the keys to all other liberties. And I'm telling you, it was a scary time during COVID when I was watching some states and some leaders take your freedoms away and dictate and mandate to you what you should be doing. Very, very concerning for me. Because here's the deal. Government officials are no smarter than any of you. Okay? Yes. That guy got it right over there. Listen, guys, I was on the phone calls with all the governors and all the leaders, and they were like, let's limit it to 250 outdoors. No, let's limit it to 200 inside. No, let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm like, guys, you're crazy. This is a virus. If you look at our spikes, it's exactly the same as every other state in the entire country, regardless of the draconian methods that they shut down their states. They have learning loss now by keeping their kids out of schools for 2 years. And we stood for freedoms. And as long as I'm your governor, we will fight back against anyone that tells us how to live our lives in the great state of Oklahoma. So thank you guys again for being engaged and involved and understanding these issues. It's so, so important that you understand what's happening across the state. Do not forget that it's our responsibility to know these issues and be informed to make decisions for our state and our country. So thanks to all the people that are running for office. I encourage us to do that. It makes everybody better when we do that. So I'm so, so proud to be an American, but I thank God every day that I live in Oklahoma. God bless you.